Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Mind, Body, and Soul television show coming to you live from our Denver, Colorado Internet TV studios. I'm your host, Coach Steve Toth, and also the founder of Conscious Evolution Media. And we have a fantastic returning guest with us this evening, Doris Richardson. And she's a coach facilitator, and she's joining us from Evergreen, Colorado, which is just in our backyard, but it's a beautiful backyard. Welcome to the show, Doris.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you for having me.
You are very welcome. And of course, we have a theme because we always have a theme. And our theme this evening is how to activate our genetic blueprint. And I'm really excited to have this show with you. And it's going to go very fast, as you know, because it's a conscious show.
Yes.
And when we do a conscious show, time and space disappears. So let's get into this fantastic theme, and beginning with the interplay between soul and trauma. So maybe you should explain to our viewers, before we get into this deep subject, give us a little story about Doris, like the short version.
The short version about Doris. Okay. I think it's important for all of us as spiritual facilitators not to come across as unbalanced. I think people might be a little bit surprised to know that for the past 7 years, along with teaching my workshop actually I was a pioneer for teaching life purpose. I started in the 80s and then expanded into helping people connect with their soul. And for the last 7 years, I created 5 award-winning engineering, geology, geophysical, and leadership high schools. They're 4-year programs. Raised over $27 million for the school. Was chief cook and bottle washer and loved every moment of it. And the reason I'm sharing that is because I couldn't have done that without the connection with my soul. I just couldn't have. And it was once we connect with that very vital part of us, which is our essence, it just leads us into unexpected places. And it happens effortlessly. And I was sat down one evening and downloaded this information of there was a need within the energy industry to have a more well-rounded professional, more alternative, as well as the school system needing to make math and science more meaningful and relevant. And that's what the energy industry is about. So I became the intermediary between Washington, D.C. The nonprofit I've worked with was on Capitol Hill, but I was the intermediary between Washington, D.C., the energy industry, and several school systems, and created this from the beginning, and had, as I said, total say-so. And I'm not a scientist. I am an educator, and I know what's needed for learning to take place. And I won an award from George and Barbara Bush for excellence in education, and that's just the kind of thing that happens. And I'm going to back up a half a step before that. Once I connected with my soul, I just kind of wanted people to understand how effortless it happens. It was nothing that I was trying to do, but when I found my life purpose, my true calling was facilitating life purpose workshops and expanding that whole concept, and that was in the 80s. And it happened, I was reading a book in my sister's house in Wichita, Kansas, and it was about life purpose. And I knew in that moment that this was it. It was one of those things where you sat down, and I didn't come up until I had finished the book, other than to feed myself. but that's how it happens. There's no denying what it is. And that was in the 80s. And when I finished reading the book, I came home and I actually called New York information. We were still going through information at the time, operators. And I asked for the office of this author, and instead was given her Manhattan apartment number. And we talked on the phone for over an hour. I said, I want to teach this, and that she was getting ready to facilitate a women's conference for female physicians in Ashland, Oregon. And she asked me if I would fly down there and we would talk. And that's how it happened. From reading a book and just knowing, having that full body knowing that this was it for me.
Mm-hmm.
So,
fantastic. It's you know, what I'm hearing in between the lines there is that when you are on your journey and when you know what you're supposed to be doing in terms of your life purpose, it becomes undeniable that you are on the right track. It's not even something that you question once you know it.
There is a full body knowing. You know, when we come in to this lifetime, we're hardwired with specific physical gifts, spiritual gifts. And once we consciously, and I underline the word consciously, connect with our soul, it activates that DNA. I mean, our
design.
Our path.
I'd like to use the word design, because I feel that there is a design to this. This thing called human.
Yes. There is design, and we're always a choice, and that sometimes, we're not. We kind of get off of our so-called path, and that's kind of when the mind chatter starts, and the silence and the beauty of being connected to soul gets us off of our path, because the soul comes to us in silence. And when we've got all the mind chatter going on, it can't come in. And just FYI, most of us keep our soul around our head area. That's pretty much where it is most of the time. And soul won't come in deeper until it's invited. And when you ask it, acknowledge it. And for me, it was a very innocent kind of connecting with it in the morning, because that was the best time, just upon waking. And a lot of people want to know what it feels like. And it's those times, when you get goosebumps when you're talking about something and
Mm-hmm. I get them all the time.
Yeah. Or
all day long. When I'm connected to something that's connected to source, I get goosebumps.
Yes. Yes. Well,
like right now.
Yes. It's true.
That's crazy.
It's just a lot of people think, ooh, well, your soul is already inside. It's 100% pure light, and it's going to give you these little nudges, and it's when you feel that, it's kind of like a feeling of when you're outside in nature and you're just feeling expanded, or you're getting your little goosebumps, or that feeling of being in love or experiencing love.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a beautiful, gentle feeling, and you are always at choice, always at choice. So I know that maybe it's a little foreign for some people to think that they might invite their soul to come in deeper, but when you do, that's when you're grounded, and that's when you manifest, because you really can't manifest anything when you're still up here in your head and you have not invited that incredible, sweet, pure energy down, like to your heart, and then to your abdomen, and then to your feet. And then when it's in your feet, then you just radiate.
So Doris, is it possible that the reason why people are having challenges with this is because we are so much trained to just trust our five senses, and
Absolutely.
anything that's beyond that, people resist and deny that it doesn't exist?
Well, it takes trust. And back up to your initial question to me when you brought up the word trauma. It's interesting. I'm focusing my work now on women who have experienced trauma. Well, all of us. It's written in our destiny. I mean, we're not born and just have this very, very easy, challenge-free life. The gift is the trauma. Now, I'm not saying that from just an intellectual understanding. I've been there and done it and got the T-shirts, many T-shirts.
Now, wait, Doris. I had some people come through this network that told me that they had a very, very trouble-free, challenge-free life. Like they moving through life with ease. Is it in your world, in your understanding, is it possible for people to come to this planet and not have to go through, for example, what I've gone through? I mean, I've gone through the stuff you're talking about, the trauma and all the challenges and the ups and downs and the path to destruction of myself. I've done all that. But is it possible that, do you come across this? Is it possible that some people don't have to go through that?
Steve, I'm 69 years old, and I've been teaching life purpose since the 80s. And I've talked to a lot of people around the world, and I don't know of anybody. I've not met them because it's like the gift is the challenge. It doesn't have to be like a trauma. Now, you asked me if I felt it was possible. Now, with the new energy consciousness, there's a lot of indigo children that are coming with fully matured souls. Mm-hmm. And, I might be using the word trauma for some people, for our old souls that have, been here many, many, many lifetimes. But we're always given the perfect challenge. You can call it a challenge. But I don't believe for a moment, because a child may have a wonderful, loving family, and the issue may be bullying. The issue may be in school. The issue may be, in those formative years, because everybody is just not going to think that you're just the most precious thing in the world. But it's how we learn. It's our gift. And when I say the word trauma, I see the trauma as a gift because it's what puts us on our spiritual path. For me, my trauma, I was sexually abused as a very little girl. And so for me, my lesson was betrayal. I mean, that was the ultimate betrayal for a little precious, innocent girl. And so it's always a reflection of what we need. So my whole journey was about learning. All of our journeys is about self-love. I mean, it's regardless of what trauma or challenge, we get, it all leads to self-love. And for me, it was learning to love and cherish myself and not betray myself.
Yes, that's very, very powerful. So I don't mind talking about, although I'm trying not to talk about myself. I'm trying to do that less and less on this network because I've done it for 12 years, and enough is enough. But
I was hoping you'd share.
But there are always new listeners, so and people that are watching for the first time. So I'm going like, okay, so when will I ever stop talking about this? Maybe never. But the thing is, so I call it the quote unquote big hurt.
Yes.
The one that hurts so much that most people, and in terms of my own self, I I didn't want to ever re-experience the big hurt again, but guess what? I was experiencing it all the time.
Yes.
But I didn't know that I didn't know.
Yes.
And what's so mine is very simple. So I'll give you a quick example of it because it's kind of mind-boggling. So when I was like 5 years old, my mother took me to a party, and there were only women at the party. And so would you be wondering that at some point later in my life, I developed issues with women, especially when they were in a group. But I made friends with them. I got over it. So there were a group of women, and they were just having tea and coffee and little snacks. And my mother proceeded to take me into another room and undressed me and dressed me up as a girl, and took me out there in front of all these women and showed me off. Now, back then, when I was 5, I had completely bleach blonde hair, curly bleach blonde hair. And, I mean, I still have a lot of feminine energies. So when I was standing in front of everybody and I was a girl, what went through my head is I remember this clearly. It was like, okay, so I know that I'm a boy, but I also know now that my mom doesn't want me as a boy. And I know I'm not a girl, but I'm dressed up as a girl, and everybody is having a great time seeing me as a girl. So I'm going like, okay, so if I'm not wanted as a boy, and if I'm not a girl, then I must be a nobody. And what I want people to notice in this conversation is that I was not blaming my mother for doing this to me because I didn't even know how.
Yes.
I had no clue how to blame somebody, especially my mother, who was like God to me. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So I just took it on. I just took it on for myself that if I'm not a girl and I'm not wanted as a boy, then I must be a nobody. So I went for the rest of my life living with these eyeglasses that are seeing from a place of I am a nobody. And guess what I did? I have got a doctorate on becoming somebody as a byproduct of it, because I constantly was making up a list of the things I had to achieve to prove to myself and to others that I am somebody. The only trouble is that it didn't matter that I got down to the bottom of the list and I teared it off. I started a new list, and it never stopped until I could never get enough evidence that I was somebody. Isn't that interesting?
You know, and it's so perfect. Look at you now. You're in media broadcasting.
Yeah. This is where it took me.
It's so perfect. It's so perfect.
And I couldn't care less today what people think. I don't care if they think I'm a girl. I don't care if they think I am a boy, because it doesn't matter.
Well, you know, the thing that makes you so good, one of the things that makes you so effective as an interviewer is that you are comfortable with that feminine creative energy. All of us, you know this, all of us have masculine and feminine creative energy. And actually, your soul is your feminine creative energy. And, I mean, your sensitivity, that's why I wanted to, I was excited about coming on your program and, you know, sharing what's going on now, because you have that balanced energy and you do listen. I mean, that's, what a gift. See, I look back at the, yeah. We're never given more than we can handle. It's just, I mean, that's universal law. We're just not. Maybe someone who hasn't been in so many lifetimes, maybe a newer soul that's not so matured now, but they're given what I would call challenges that are just as challenging for them as someone else would call a trauma. Now, right now, I'm focusing on female military vets. I've gone through PTSD, and I've done it with no medication. And I'm here to tell you the power of connecting with the soul. I'm not teaching anything that I have not gone through, and I'm here to tell anyone, whether it's, their trauma was a result of divorce, death, loss, some watching violence at home. Maybe they're a highly sensitive person. That was my triple whammy. I was a highly sensitive person, and it's just a little bit more challenging for those. Now we call them an empath. But I used to, until I was able to understand it better, I was the one that was feeling all the energy in the room and thinking it was mine.
So until, like you said, Doris, until I actually accepted that there's a huge part of me that's male and a huge part of me that's female, because I was resisting the female part, and that's why I was having issues with women. And until I accepted that there is this part of me that's feminine, and I loved all of it.
Yes.
Until then, I was living in my own hell, really, and that was the journey. And I wouldn't change a darn thing. I had some very, very painful experiences, but guess what? They were all for the purposes of me being where I am today.
So you've embraced that
Mm-hmm.
incredible feminine energy. That feminine creative energy is the part of us that is the imagining. It's the creating. It's when you're sitting and you're daydreaming and you're not wasting time. That's really productive stuff. The masculine energy is about the doing, and the feminine creative energy is about creating. When you're in that creative zone and you lose time. You lose track of time.
Yeah. That's why I love this network, because I have proven show after show after show after show, and we got thousands of them. That when we're doing these shows, I wanted people to get a sense of how time doesn't even matter, because in my reality, time doesn't really exist. The only use I stopped wearing a watch, Doris, 12 years ago. I have no need for a watch. The only reason I'm using this phone, the clock on here, is so that I can meet you on this network on time. That's about the only reason.
Yes.
And meetings that I schedule with people, but it's a convenience thing. Once we open up our minds, then we can, telepathically call each other. I won't even have the use for that much.
And we're there. We just need to allow that silence for. I've got to tell you that the story I shared about creating the schools, and I am not a scientist. I can't even tell you how easy that happened, how it unfolded, and when we get out of our minds, when the mind chatter stops, the soul is what allows the mind chatter to stop.
Yes, and I had a direct experience of that finally. Not that I haven't had it before.
Yes.
I was able to quiet my mind, but only for short periods of time, and I couldn't do it on command. Like I couldn't manage it.
Right.
It would just come and go whenever it wanted to come and go. And I went like, oh my God, it was so great. It was so wonderful to be in the presence of this silence, but I had no control over it. But now I do.
Yes, and I did TM, Transcendental Meditation, for years. And, then it was when when my partnership with my soul happened, it's just I didn't need that mantra. I was just there. And meditation is wonderful for me. The mantra was getting in the way for me. That was for me. I'm speaking for me.
So let's talk a little bit about the soul, because some people may be questioning, like, what are we talking about when we're talking about?
Okay,
so what is your definition, a little bit more closely, more deeply? What is your definition of soul?
Soul is, as I said earlier, it's 100% pure light. It's our essence. It's here. I actually got to experience it when I was with a dear friend who honored me. She was in hospice, and she passed away with me sitting right there. And I got to experience that life force, that essence, leaving her body in such an incredibly blissful way. But many people will call it their higher self. Some people will call it spirit. I mean, it's that divine part of you. It's in. I'm going to go back to that genetic blueprint. That genetic blueprint is not just physical. It's your spiritual gifts as well. And that spiritual blueprint is the soul. It's whatever. It's just pure light. It's pure love, pure light. The only agenda that the soul has is to lead us to our life purpose. And the word life purpose is so overused, and it's so vague.
No kidding.
It's so vague. I can't come up with some more specific things. But I thought, people don't connect to, really cute words. They either resonate with you or they don't. So I've stopped. It's been driving me crazy. I can't come up with a better name. But it will, when we're connected with soul, it's just, it's that joyful feeling. And it leads us not only to our true calling, our profession, but our relationships. And when we pay attention to the nudges, and it's just, I have a story, one of my favorite stories. A friend from Australia was visiting with me, and she was torn about whether to go or stay. And I'm never one to give unsolicited advice. It's just one of my huge buttons. I just don't. And the only thing I said, well, maybe it would help for you to start packing and making movement towards going back to Australia. And so she started packing towards going to the airport, and she got a very clear knowing from her soul that she wanted to stay. But that's, the mind, well, do I go, do I stay, do I go? And you go into this repetitive kind of thing, and all the mind chatter. The only way she knew was by making movement towards it, and then she got it very clear. And that's the way the soul works. It's paying attention to those little nudges, and you're always at choice. I want to be very clear. I mean, this is not something that overtakes you. It's just a warm, fuzzy feeling that when you're doing something, you get your goosebumps, or you get that feeling of being in the zone when you're creating something and you lose track of time, that kind of thing. It's just that feeling, and you're always at choice. And
yeah, I just wanted to clarify something for the viewers from my point of view, and please chime in if you have a different way of explaining it, because people probably are wondering. So okay, so you guys are asking me to connect to my soul, and how do I do that? That's one thing. And the other thing is, so if I'm not connected to my soul, then what am I connected to? And what are you guys talking about in terms of a choice? So is the choice then between being connected to my soul, and then if I'm not connected to my soul, what the heck am I connected to?
Okay, to go back to what I said earlier, your soul is your essence. It's there whether you know it or not. But most people, it stays around the head area. When you're really serious and you have, and for me, this was probably the first thing that happened to me. I had this really deep yearning to want a more fulfilling life. It's that deep yearning that there was more to this, a more authentic life. And so that yearning actually was the first step towards me connecting with soul. Now, what I said before is most people keep their soul energy here, and they think it's way up in the ethers. If you want to manifest these wonderful things, abundance in every facet of your life, it's got to be from a grounded place. So, when say you have a problem, And you have to think of it right now. Everybody kind of think about a problem that you've been wrestling with and you just can't come to terms with it. You've thought, you've thought at it from every angle that you possibly could. And then think about the situation without wanting to know the outcome. Find that still point within you to where there's no charge, there's no mind chatter, but find that still point within you without wanting to know an answer. So just be there. That creates an opening for soul to come in deeper. And when you really want to connect, you invite your soul to your heart, and you just breathe with it. And you just breathe with it, and you keep breathing until you're peaceful. And I'm talking about the belly breathing, the conscious breathing, if you want. When you're inhaling, your lower abdomen is going out. So if you want to, maybe not now, maybe later, invite your soul to come to your heart. Bring your awareness to your heart, and just be there with it and breathe. And then you'll know, and then allow it to fall to your abdomen and keep breathing. Just really slow and very peaceful and very quiet. And then allow it to go to your feet and be there with it. Just be there with it. And in those quiet times, I mean, for me, with this engineering school and, reading that book and calling that woman in New York, everything happens just with ease and grace. You're no longer stuck. Usually, I have to get on my knees in the past before I connected with soul. You're kind of brought to your knees and you get stuck and you just in your mind, what can I do, what can I do, what can I do? And your mind is so busy, you're not open for any more awareness to come in, more consciousness to come in. But when you're able to get to that still point and you're breathing, that's when this incredible information comes to you. It just downloads.
Okay. Well, you said a number of very, very, very important things. Number one, I view the fact that being open-minded, is one of the major foundations of consciousness.
Yes.
Like when we are not open, what we are is we are closed, and when we are closed, we already know everything. We are a know-it-all, and we really don't. I mean, I'm learning that every moment I'm learning new things. It's a never-ending process, and when you were talking about before, so for me, the choice is at any given moment being connected or being disconnected. Yes. So, and what I mean by that is when I'm connected, I'm connected to my higher self, meaning I'm connected to Source, and the choices that I make from that place are really in the interest of my highest self, my most good, and everybody else's good. That's concerned in whatever it is that I'm doing or choosing. When I'm disconnected, who's in charge is my ego.
Yes, the ego mind.
In other words, my mind is in control, and boy, there is trillions of bits of information in our mind that it's been programmed in there by us and by everybody that we came into contact with in our lifetime. There's more information in there that we don't know what to do with. However, the mind plays these mind games, and our ego is in charge of keeping us safe in a way. And it will come up with all kinds of things for us to do. That's why there's the chatter, I feel, that do this or not do that, do this or not do that. Because it's constantly thinking, well, if you do that, so in the past, when you did that, you got hurt. And I don't want you to get hurt, so don't do that. But no new situation is the same as the old one. but it's almost like we're going around in the world repeating our past, aren't we?
Sometimes we learn. Hopefully we're learning.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't. I mean, why is it that, you know this about women, why is it that a lot of women in a relationship, they pick the same guys over and over again? It's like, duh.
Well, that's the pattern, and that goes back to, the trauma. It's like there's a gift of the trauma or the challenge, whatever it was for you, that puts you on your spiritual path. And, when you're on your path, people and situations that you're meeting are reflecting back to you what you need to be doing for yourself. So if you are running into a lot of angry people, if you're they're serving as a reflection to you. Now, if all of this sounds too conceptual, because it really isn't, it's really so simple. It's really just allowing yourself to feel. If you're new to your spiritual path, the simplest thing for you to do, maybe you don't want to at this moment bring your soul in. You're going to have to feel into it a little bit before you do that. Just bring your awareness to your heart. Just bring your awareness to your heart. And before you make choices, if you're stuck in repetitive patterns and nothing's changing, come back to your heart. And there's always a higher choice. And if there's something that's going on and you're stuck and you kind of feel like you're on your knees because nothing's changing, bring it to your heart. And then in time, because anyone who's listening to this program tonight, it's not by accident. And you've got a pretty special audience. But the beautiful thing about soul is that soul meets you wherever you are. It's like your life purpose. On these 2-day retreats that I do, it's like your life purpose is going to meet you wherever you are. 5 years from now, man, like me, I started and I knew that life purpose was my passion. It was my calling. I knew it. And then years later, then the soul. If soul would have connected with me in the 80s, I wouldn't have been ready.
Right.
So you're always expanding. It's nothing. It's not like, oh, I'm going to connect and my soul's going to take over and I'm not going to be any choice. It's gentle. It's just a gentle, loving feeling.
Well, I kind of like the genetic blueprint better than life purpose, because really the genetic blueprint is what we all have, and it's what's driving us to complete what we came here to complete.
It's true, but for me, that's a real mental kind of concept. And I like to keep things really, really simple. And I move away from concepts or processes or anything like that because, connecting with soul is just the simplest thing you ever did. It's inviting her in and then maintaining a relationship, like connecting with her in the morning and asking her to come along with you. It's like, you don't connect with her once and then you just forget about her, and she's got to be in deep in order for you to manifest those things that you want, the relationship, the wealth, the abundance in every facet of your life. She's got to be deeper than just around the head area.
Yeah, that's very clear.
Yeah.
My experience is that things that when people don't understand concepts, in my experience, I can talk to them until I'm, red in the face. They won't really get it. They gotta understand things in a conceptual way. For example,
Yes.
I would wish that everybody that works with these devices and also computers, took a mandatory course called Computer 101, because you got to understand the concepts before we can work with it. So guess what people do? They ignore the conceptual. They just go, well, I don't need that because I know how to press buttons. Well, guess what? Go ahead, press the buttons.
Yeah. we had an experience of that today.
When we don't understand why we're pressing the buttons, you're going to get into all kinds of trouble.
Yes, that's true. There's one thing that keeps coming in my awareness that I want to make really clear. I'm focusing on the trauma and challenges that people have had. But I want to be very clear that there is no sense of victimhood in any of this. The trauma is the only thing, or the challenge, or whatever it is. And I want to even maybe further explain that. It's like something shocking happens to us. And it's like we start reacting to that with different coping skills that work for us at the time. And then years go, time goes, and then anytime we have an opportunity to expand or grow or change happens or we're under stress, if we're not aware of those coping mechanisms, then we keep repeating that. That's the repetitive behavior. But
we're stuck.
We're stuck. We're totally stuck. But I want to be really clear that, and I'm going to say this because I have a feeling our time might be nearing.
What time?
I don't know. But I just want to be clear that when I say trauma, I'm not like the time that people spend with me in these retreats. It's a joyful thing. There's a lot of laughter. There's no talk of trauma. And the thing I am so excited about is that not only are people connecting with their soul, and it's one of the very first things that we do. All the activities they're joyful activities. There's a lot of laughter going on. And then there's people are working with horses. And I've just discovered equine therapy. And I wanted it to be part of these retreats. And so once they actually have 3 sessions with the horses. And it's ground-based. There's no riding. But the first time that I went into an arena and I got to choose my horse, I've always been attracted to horses, always. But just going into that arena and choosing my horse and relating to that horse is quite powerful. Just walking in there, just me and the horse. And it was a beautiful, beautiful experience. And what happens is once people have clarity about their purpose and, how they're going to go about it, manifesting it, and they're connected to their soul, then I always want to check for congruence. Because if somebody says, I want to teach life purpose workshops, if they haven't taken care of any of those subconscious, unconscious kinds of coping skills from the past, then they're going to sabotage themselves. As soon as they leave the retreat, they're going to do something to sabotage themselves because they haven't taken care of this, what I call internal resistance. So the beautiful thing about the horses is that when you're there and you're claiming, this is my life purpose, because the beauty of a horse is that they are masters at being in the moment. They don't know any other way. So they're relating to you in that moment.
They tuned into your frequency.
They totally do, and they relate to you, whether it's if they walk away or their ears. There's all sorts of things, gentle things that they do. They just provide an authentic. And the reason I love this is because it's way past talk therapy, the cognitive. And I know that it has its place. I'm not criticizing that at all. but the purity and the honesty of the feedback of the horses is a thing to behold.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
No question.
Yeah.
I used to own like 5 of them when I was
Really?
married. Yeah. Yeah. They used to be near Conifer. 5 of them. They're still up there. My ex-wife's sister is taking care of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I know exactly what you're talking about because I'm very connected to them as well, and I'm very connected with animals. Period. I mean,
Yes, me too.
I'm connected to cats, dogs, parrots. There's just something about animals because I feel that they're more conscious than we are because they don't live from their past. They don't live
Yes.
from their future. They live right now. So they tuned in. They tuned in, and if when we are tuned in, then communication takes place, and it's not happening by talking,
Hmm.
like what you said. It's magical.
It's true, and you can't get into that mind chatter and all. You're not depending on another human being understanding you. You're right there. You're in the moment. You're there for life purpose. You're there for, and boy, they will give you the most gentle, beautiful feedback. And it's so powerful. In fact, the 2 women, this retreat takes place on this gorgeous horse ranch right between Evergreen and Morrison, and it is absolutely beautiful. Red barn, the whole thing. So
So talk a little bit about those workshops and what's a little bit more. Provide a little bit more detail for our viewers, so if they're interested in uh, participating with you, then what do they need to do? Where do they need to go in terms of a website? Where do they register? And are there different levels of this, or just talk a little bit more about it?
well, if you resonate with anything that we've taught, that Steve and I have talked about this evening, if you're kind of toying with kind of sticking your toe into the possibility of connecting with your soul, and it's that yearning. If you're feeling a yearning to have a more fulfilling life, a more authentic life, then this 2-day workshop, it is 2 days on the weekend, and as I said, it's on a horse farm, and it's a joyful place. It's no one sitting there contemplating their navel or woe is me. There's no victim. This is a joyful place, and it's women really supporting each other. And when I say this, I'm always believe in being very transparent. I remember growing up when the whole goddess thing happened, and I remember women running through the fields and muumuus with bosoms flailing, and it turned me off so much. And I mean, so this,
It would have probably had the opposite effect on me.
Probably not, but it was for me extreme, anything extreme. I like to kind of hang in the middle here, and that still point. But the reason I'm saying that is that it is for women, and it's my passion to be able to say that there is nothing that has happened to you that you can't become at peace with and connect with at that soul level to manifest the things that you want. I'm here to tell you that you can do it. I've done it, and the workshop, you can look me up online at dorisrichardson.com. Will you have it on anywhere?
I will put it on the video once it's produced.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's dorisrichardson.com, and the first workshop here, this retreat, is mid-May, and it's limited to 10 people. And this is the first time I've done that. Normally I've done, large groups, but for this and working with the horses, I want to keep it small so that everybody has 3 sessions with the horse. So you've got 2 days of these incredible activities and 2 lunches and 3 sessions with the horse, and you walk out. I'm going to say this, and I'm just going to look you just right in the eye and in the heart. I've never had anyone leave my retreats without knowing their purpose, without coming, without connecting, and knowing in their heart of hearts that this is what's good for me at this time. This is, this is right for me. So again, they're fun. You can reach me, and you'll have all the information, my personal email and my phone number at dorisrichardson.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Doris. The conscious hour is gone, but I feel that wow, we just flew through this, and this is such a deep and at the same time very light subject, because as you said a number of times throughout the show, that all of this is really very simple. I mean, really, this is how I live my life now. The way I connect to my highest self is I just ask the question, is what I'm about to, if there's any question, if there's any choice I need to make, I just ask, is this in the highest and best interest of myself and everybody else concerned? And the answer will come from my higher self, and I will know it.
I want to, yes, if it's critical voice, that's your ego mind. If it's a loving, supporting voice, that's the one that's to your greatest and highest good. Pay attention. Don't even pay attention to the negative, critical ego mind.
Correct. And I'm totally like dialed into my intuition. I always had it all my life, but I have to be honest, before I became awake and conscious, I didn't honor my intuition. I let it tell me. It was really it's a feeling that I have. It's in my stomach. It tells me.
Yes.
And I ignored it, and I always paid for it dearly. And I no longer do that, because I know how precious intuition is, and I do exactly what it tells me to do. It's never steered me the wrong way.
That's that wonderful feminine energy.
Yeah. Okay.
That you're now very grateful for, right?
Absolutely. You got that right. So, Doris, thank you very much. You are a fascinating and exciting human being, providing a workshop like this, and I hope as people are watching, they will take you up on it, because this is really all about coming across with other viewers at the right time at the right place.
Yes.
That's all this is. And a lot of people that come and watch us, they see us for the first time, and if they're seeing us from their ego, they run faster than I could probably keep up with them, so I don't keep up with them anymore. I'll just invite them back whenever they're ready.
Absolutely.
So if we, especially Doris, not necessarily me, but if Doris has touched, moved, and inspired anybody here this evening, please listen to your intuition and do what is the right thing to do for your highest and best self, which in my book would be, my recommendation would be to go spend 2 days with Doris on the ranch. If I could turn into a female right now, I would go sign up.
This is great fun, Steve. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And for everybody else, keep watching our shows on this network, because the more you watch them, the more they come up on the top 10 list. And we, of course, just released the top 10 list for last March. So if your show, the show that you love and you're interested in having more of those type of shows, are finishing in the top 10, they have the possibility of going to public television. Thank you so much for watching. I see you guys here back next time on our network, August at 7 p.m. Mountain Time, which is 9 p.m. Eastern. Thank you so much, and we'll be back shortly. Thank you, Doris.
Thank you, Steve.
Bye for now.